Hello everybody, and welcome to Pathogen Pointers, where we do a deep dive into a pathogen or disease topic. Today we're going to be discussing the differences and similarities between tetanus and botulism. Tetanus and botulism are both caused by toxins that are produced by clostridial pathogens, and both of these toxins cause neurologic disease. Tetanus toxin is produced by Clostridium tetani and results in muscle rigidity. On the other hand, botulism toxin is produced by Clostridium botulinum and results in muscle flaccidity. We will start by looking at tetanus specifically. Tetanus-causing bacteria are found in the soil and intestinal tracts of animals. Typically, these bacteria are introduced into the body through wounds, where the anaerobic environment allows the bacteria to thrive and proliferate. Additionally, common surgical sites associated with tetanus include docking and castration sites. Of our veterinary species, horses and lambs seem to be the most susceptible to tetanus. Before we take a look at how tetanus affects the body, we should review normal signaling. Normally, GABA-containing vesicles are present in the neurons, waiting for an action potential to occur. When stimulated, snare proteins on the vesicle membrane and the neuron cell membrane interact. This causes the vesicle to fuse to the neuron membrane and release GABA into the synapse. There are other similar vesicles that do the same process, but for acetylcholine. The relative balance of acetylcholine to GABA helps to dictate whether a muscle contracts or relaxes. In tetanus, tetanus toxin is endocytosed and stored in a vesicle within the neuron. The toxin then binds to and degrades those snare proteins. This prevents vesicles containing GABA from fusing with the neuron membrane, preventing release of GABA into the synapse. In the case of tetanus, this means that only acetylcholine is present in the synapse, resulting in persistent muscle contraction. Clinical signs of tetanus include pronounced muscle rigidity, muscle spasms, hyperesthesia, erect ears, tail, and nares, and prolapse of the third eyelid. The disease eventually progresses to death when the diaphragm no longer relaxes appropriately. Treatment for tetanus primarily involves sedatives, muscle relaxants, and giving tetanus antitoxin. Antibiotics and cleaning the affected wound thoroughly can also help with treatment by killing off the bacterial colonies. Prevention involves routine vaccination against tetanus using tetanus toxoid. Animals should receive a booster of toxoid if they develop a wound in order to help raise their antibody levels against the toxin. Finally, all surgeries should be performed aseptically, and the surgical site or any open wounds should be kept as clean as possible. Now we will compare that with botulism. Botulism toxin is produced by clostridial bacteria in decaying carcasses or vegetative materials. Usually botulism occurs when an animal ingests the toxin directly, rather than consuming the bacteria itself. A notable exception to this is Shaker-Fole syndrome, where the bacteria colonize a wound or the umbilicus and thus cause disease. Of our veterinary species, waterfowl appear to be the most sensitive to botulism, but it also occurs commonly in horses and cattle. Botulism has a similar pathogenesis to tetanus. Like tetanus, it starts with botulism toxin being taken up into a vesicle within the neuron. The toxin then binds to and degrades the snare proteins. This prevents the vesicles from fusing to the neuron membrane and releasing their contents. The distinction with botulism is that it affects the release of acetylcholine, which is the main trigger for muscle contraction. Therefore, GABA is going to predominate in the synapse, which is going to result in muscle relaxation. Clinical signs of botulism include difficulty chewing and swallowing, decreased tone in the tongue, tail, and jaw, drooling, and weakness. This disease also progresses to death when the diaphragm no longer contracts appropriately. Treatment primarily involves supportive care and maintaining hydration. There is an antitoxin available, but it is very rarely used. Preventative measures focus on vaccination for highly susceptible animals, as well as avoiding spoiled feed and properly disposing of carcasses to prevent contamination of water sources. Here's a quick table to summarize the differences between tetanus and botulism. The main difference to be aware of is which neurotransmitter is affected. Tetanus prevents the release of GABA, while botulism prevents the release of acetylcholine. This results in muscle contraction and muscle flaccidity, respectively. Thank you for watching Pathogen Pointers. If you enjoyed this video, remember to like, subscribe, and share with your classmates. If you're feeling generous, there is also a link in the description where you can buy me a coffee to help fuel future video making. Thanks again for watching, and we will see you in the next video.